First of all, thanks for all the views and the likes, and even more the subscribers as a result of my recent wild camping video. It's very much appreciated, guys. We had a great time, even though I couldn't have a beverage. It was still great to get out of the house and experience Mother Nature in all her finery. What I'm going to do today, seeing as I've had to take down the UCO Candle Lantern video, which I took basically as I received the items through the post and before I'd really had a chance to use them in the wild, is I'm basically going to give you a bit of a review now I've had a chance to use them out in the field. I've used these things 3 times now, and I'm quite happy with the purchase. There's some things I need to tell you about and in what to look for when you're using them, and we'll get there eventually. But yeah, let's crack on and have a look at the UCO Micro Candle Lantern. Okay, bringing you back. These are my pair of UCO Micro Candle Lanterns. As you can see, I've got a red one, which at the minute is dirty and it's full of wax, and you've got a blue one, which is the one I haven't used yet. Both are available in the UK for around about £15, depending on where you buy them from. They come flat packed in a cardboard package with a simple plastic blister in the middle, which is a little bit awkward for storage long term because you can't really repack it and put it somewhere flat. It's not like it comes in a box or anything like that. You just have to you just have to find some mechanism of storing them, and what I've come up with as a brief digression is this. So this is a small 35mm DSLR lens cover made of neoprene. Got a draw cord on the end, a bit of a belt loop and a clip, and these lanterns just fit nicely inside, with a little bit of spare room in there for a couple of candles, a couple of spare candles here. Pull the draw cord and away you go. So far these cases have proved to be or do exactly what they say on the tin. They are protective cases, and the best thing about them is they cost about £2.50 each. That's delivered off eBay. I can put the link to the seller. Anyway, back to the lantern. The lantern itself is approximately 60mm wide by 60mm high. I haven't got the exact specs to hand. It's just an approximation. It's a collapsible lantern with a folding hanging bail, a bit of a chain and a hook for hanging. Now, the reason why this one's dirty and full of wax is because I had this attached to my secondary ridge line over the weekend. My primary ridge line is for the tarpaulin. The secondary ridge line is for hanging stuff like this off inside the tarp, because I like to run my ridge line above the tarp and use the loops on the tarp to actually suspend the tarp. But anyway, so this thing was hung on my ridge line, and as I was getting into my hammock to settle down for the night, I was obviously bouncing around. The ridge line was, you know, obviously picking up the movement, and it caused the lantern to fall off the prusik loop that I got it attached to. So one thing to bear in mind is that these things are extremely light and will bounce off a loop if there's any kind of induced movement. Now, one thing you could do to minimise that is to put obviously a lark's knot on the end of your prusik loop, put your hanging hook through it and just pull it tight, and that'll give you a little bit more stability. So that's something I need to consider for the future. Anyway, let's put that one to one side because I need to clean that one. We'll use a clean one to do the review with. So to open the lantern, you simply pull up like that, and inside you've got a little tripod mount for the candle, and you've got another candle in the base. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the base off and let you see how that all fits together. So to take the base, you simply give it a little twist and lift it off. So this is the base of the lantern. You can see there's three small, well, it looks like stainless steel prods that are bent to form a base. The candles that you get with the lantern are about 38mm in diameter, and you just place them in there like so. Now, when you get your lantern, you may have to ease these three prods or prongs slightly, just to make sure you get an optimum fit and it doesn't actually keep flicking the candles out. That's one problem I did have with mine. But once you've got it sort of like tweaked, it's fairly robust after that. And then to get to the second candle, you just simply give that a twist. I don't think there's any particular screwing mechanism in there. It's just a friction fit, and that gives you access to the second candle. Now these candles burn for 4 hours. So obviously during the winter months you may find yourself changing candles during the night. If you say spark up at about 4 o'clock when it goes dark, which is typically when it goes dark in our winter, right through to bedtime. So a 4-hour candle is going to get you through to about 8 o'clock, and you're going to have to refill at some point thereafter. What I found over the weekend, I was out just now, is I didn't actually light the candle until about 8 o'clock in the night, and it was good up to the point where I went to bed, which was about midnight. And that's the point in time when I actually knocked it off the prussic loop. But by that time I was in my sleeping bag and there was no way I was coming out just to pick the lantern up. So that's the base. The actual body of the lantern itself is made of steel coated in enamel. There's various different colours available. I went for red and blue. It's got a proper glass globe inside it and a bit of a cover. So just a bit of a close up. Now somehow I've got to figure out a way of stripping this down so that I can actually clean it, and I think I've just seen how it all hangs together, and that is, if you pull on the top here, there's 3 little tabs that sort of sprung loaded. If I can get that one out. So that comes out. The glass should, he says, lift out, and then those 3 prongs, I hope I've got all that on camera, those 3 prongs there just fit out. So, and if you look inside there, you'll see that there's 3 cutouts or detents for the 3 legs. So just putting that back in reverse order. Goes in. Glass goes in. Just put it all the way down, and then the cover goes in. Like so. And the ends of those 3 legs are actually bent over to stop the glass slipping down. So once the glass is in and the lantern is fully assembled, then it can't really come out. So that just hangs like that. And obviously to assemble the lantern, then it's just a case of lining up the little dots, which are, where are you? You see that little punch out in the wider gap between the ventilation holes? Well, that corresponds to this area here. So essentially you line those up like so, give it a twist, and it locks in place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to strip down the red one, because as I said, this one was on the Prussic loop. It was just put through the Prussic loop. I like to use thin Prussic loops on my ridgeline. My ridgeline is normally a piece of paracord, a normal standard, not 550 paracord. I'm not a 550 fanboy. Some of my ridgelines are 550, but most of the paracord I use isn't what you class as 550. I think the reel I've got came from Military Mart, somewhere like that. Anyway, what I tend to use for my Prussics is a much smaller cord. I think it's Grizzly Cub cord. It's about 2 millimeters in diameter. It's very light, which means you can carry a lot more of it for the same amount of space occupied. It's exceedingly strong, and what I tend to use it for is Prussics and the guy lines for my tarp, because again it's small, it's strong, takes knots well. You just got to watch that you don't over tighten knots, because it can be a bugger to undo. But yeah, so what I've got in here is, I don't know whether you can see inside there, I've actually got a candle to take out. So there we go, that slips out there. I want to be careful that I don't get a lot of wax everywhere. So what tends to happen when these things bounce around as well is that the wax does tend to splash. So you may find yourself, even though you've not dropped it like I did, you may find yourself having to do a bit of a clean-up operation either in the morning or when you get back home after the weekend, or however long it is you've been out, because you've got candle wax everywhere. So let's disassemble this again. So again, it's a case of prizing out the cover. This is quite, here we go. All I'm trying to do here is get to the point where these things flick out, and then the last one just should come out quite easily. So that's the top. And the globe should just slide out. Now when you slide it out, just take care that you don't let these wire pieces scratch the glass. It'll just make your globe last a little bit longer. And there doesn't seem to be any signs of damage as a result of the fall, and I think what happens is, because this thing is obviously collapsible, if it does fall off the ridgeline, it should land base first, and basically the whole lantern acts as a crumple zone. But don't take my word for it, that's just something I observed and had a guess at. Your results may vary, and obviously then it's a case of just unclipping that and then getting all of the wax out. Now it's coming off quite easily, so it shouldn't take you long to give it a clean. And obviously this is a little bit damp because it was out in the rain over the weekend, so that's another thing you may want to consider when you get back home after a trip, is just doing a little bit of equipment husbandry. Obviously tarps and whatnot may need drying out, but it's the other little things that you might not consider need drying. just keep an eye on things and your kit's going to last a lot longer. So already the sort of like the main body of the lantern is coming up quite nicely, and the candle wax is just sort of lifting off with my fingernail, so I'm not even having to use any kind of like detergent or anything like that. So it's looking good inside. I'm happy with that. Same again with the globe support. Just get all the wax off it. And there's quite a lot of wax in here. I don't know whether you can see that. This is what happens when you when the lantern jigs about. The wax does splash around. I'm just going to have a guitar pick. I play guitar badly. So yeah, and that's just moved that whole piece of wax out like that. So just, you know, take your time and just Mrs. Rag's going to kill me unless I do a bang up job cleaning up this tablecloth. So that's coming up nicely. Just a little bit more I've missed just there. This just needs separating. There's a little bit of moisture in here. I mean, not that this bit's going to rust because the majority of it is plastic, but obviously you want to try and get as much moisture off it as possible. I'll go and get a tissue for that. So you may be thinking why I went for this particular lantern as opposed to the standard lantern, which takes the 9-hour candles. Well, I am a Yorkshireman, as you may have guessed. Henceforth, I like to keep the costs to a minimum. And the candles that I'm using to replace the supplied ones are these candles from IKEA. I almost forgot the name of that store then. I got these, I think I bought 200. And it cost me about £7. So I've got 200 of these things. They're cast in such a way as that they sort of like nest on top of each other, and you can basically get about 4 in a line and then just wrap some tape around them, and just carry them as spares in your bag. I mean, obviously the stove itself does take one there like that, and then obviously like that, like so. And another tip, before you take them out, just stand the wicks up. You may even want to pre-burn the wicks. Obviously that one's not going to stand up, but stand the wick up. It'll just save you a little bit of time when you actually get to the woods, where you won't have to faff about doing stuff like that, where your fingers may be cold and a bit immobile. So what I might have to do with this is just have to put this under some warm water just to loosen some of this wax. Yeah, it's going to be a bit more tricky to get this off. But as I say, it does appear to be, you know, intact, which isn't bad considering it's had a fall from about a height of about 4 feet. It did land on the forest floor, obviously, which is not particularly hard. There's lots of leaves and stuff to sort of like break its fall, but I think the collapsibility of these lanterns just makes it sort of like squash flat, a bit like its own private airbag. Anyway, that's something I can do later. So let's just put these out of shot for a minute and bringing you back to the lantern. What do I think of it? I think for the money it's a very nice little piece of gear. It's well engineered. It's small and compact and doesn't take up much space in your pack. Oh, one other thing is if you go to Sainsbury's, you can also get the same size citronella candles, and I've got some of those in the garage. So when the summertime comes, or when it starts to warm up a bit, you can replace a standard candle with a citronella candle and help to keep some bugs away. And that's primarily why I went for two of them, so I can put one at each end of the basher and have a lot of anti-bug smell around. Yeah, I'm really happy with the purchase. I think I've hit on a bit of a winner with these lens covers as protective cases. They're really pretty good. Can't really fault them at all. I'm sure people who have got cameras would be interested in these things, because they're pretty robust. I mean, you've got, you know, a nice thickness of neoprene there, and you know, the wetsuit material. It looks like, I mean, if you've got an old wetsuit, you could probably make yourself one quite easily. But I haven't got a wetsuit, so let's keep it in that one because this is the clean one. Overall, I'm quite happy. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at the UCO Micro Lantern. Again, apologies for the previous video and the new mistake of using copyrighted material. Shan't do that again. I've got a few tunes now that I intend to use as sort of like my signature intro and outro. So I'll continue with those. You obviously will have noticed the repeat of the intro. So once again, thank you for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing to my channel. It's very much appreciated. And I hope to see you again out there in the woods sometime.